Hello, everybody, and welcome to Bucs Bounty, the newest edition. Of course, lots of stuff happening this offseason, and we're going to talk about some more of that stuff that's been happening over the last few days. I'm Stephen Brault alongside the man, Kevin Young, joining me. KY, so good to see you. As always, I still do think, actually, we are in the same area right now. We probably could have
Yes,
met up and done this in person. I didn't even think about that till right now. But KY, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. I'm good. Just speaking across the valley to you right now, across the Arizona
Exactly.
Valley. But everything's going good, man.
Nice.
Super excited. I mean, a lot of good stuff happening for the Pirates this offseason. So, and now spring training has arrived. So, pretty exciting stuff. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's start with that really quickly, KY. I'll always love to hear everybody's opinion on this. When the season starts, right, and we start our job, we're up in Pittsburgh, we're talking about the Pirates. The question always comes up: how is the first day of the season? How does opening day feel? But we're not always interacting with each other at this point of the year. And I love spring training. As a player, I'm an early morning guy anyway, so it was never a big deal for me to get up early in the morning, start my work. Some guys did not like it as much because it was not that way. How did you feel at the start of spring training every year when you were playing?
Excited. I mean, I think a lot of it all depends. So sometimes, go through the off season. Sometimes as you get older, it's rehabilitating something. Maybe you had an off season
Right.
surgery or so it varies sometimes, but man, that first day you can't wait to get back down and see the guys. And a lot of times, you put in all that work in the off season, either rehabilitating or getting stronger or working on your craft a little bit. And now you get to be back on the field and put it to work. And so I think it was always a fun time. I wasn't a morning person necessarily, but it didn't matter during spring training. You didn't have a choice. So, I'd be in there in the gym at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, working out at the ballpark and getting ready for, what was upcoming. But it is definitely a time where a lot of these guys are jumping at the bit. They're already down in
Oh
Florida.
yeah.
Not just the pitchers and catchers, obviously, they reported, yesterday, but ultimately when it came down to these guys get down there, a week, and we did too, get down there a week or 10 days earlier, get accustomed, reacclimated to the weather and also the time. So it's definitely a fun time. Springtime is a blast.
Yeah, those first like 10 days when it's just pitchers and catchers and you don't have to worry about position players, it's the best. And then all the position players get there and it's like, oh, now we have to actually start doing this. Like, gosh, now I don't get to throw a bullpen and finish at 10 a.m. That was a wonderful 10 days that I just got. Time to go to real work. Well, let's go to real work. The Pirates have been going to real work here in this offseason. Obviously, the trade for Brandon Lau, Jake Mangum, who has been brought in that trade as well. I mean, look, it's been a busy offseason for the Pirates, and it continues after that signing of Ryan O'Hearn. Now, the Pirates reportedly have signed Marcell Ozuna, the ex-Brave player, big man, Marcell Ozuna, the bear. They call him El Oso. Last year, a little bit of a down year for him, but only a down year really because he was battling a right hip tear pretty much the entire season. He's 35 years old. He's entering his 14th major league season. You see those numbers from last year, but I'm just going to quickly throw out KY because I know you appreciate this. How about the 2 years before that, where he had
Yes.
over a 900 OPS, hit 39 homers, hit 40 homers, finished fourth in MVP voting for the National League in 2024. That's 2 years ago. That is not very far removed. Obviously, an older character now at 35 years old, but hey, I mean, if you can get some of that offense, that's what the Pirates have been needing. And if you get a 900 OPS again this season, if he's healthy and you get those numbers, like in 2024, he played every single game. If you get that and you get those numbers, $12 million is a heck of a bargain.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I love everything about this signing. Obviously, that when you acquire someone like this, you're talking about a three-time All-Star, a guy that's been able to do it. He's a bona fide run producer. And you mentioned that Braves team for the last 6 7 years. Those guys go out there and they play every single day, every game, and so that's what you're getting when you have Ozuna coming over. He's a guy, even though he's a DH, he wants to post in that lineup every single day, and I just think that's really what you really want to have when we talk about addressing the offensive needs. I think the Pirates did a tremendous job. You got to get hats off to Ben Cherington and the group for actually putting together a really, really good offseason, one of the most productive off seasons I've seen in Pittsburgh in years, to be quite honest. It really has been that impressive. And then, with Ozuna, over the last 3 years, 100 home runs, 100 home runs over the last 3 years. So does that answer some of the issues that you have for your offense with the Pittsburgh Pirates? 100%. I mean, it's that type of guy that come in, he can put the ball on the other side of the wall. And last year he got a little bit pull happy. And like you said, it might have been because of the hip, playing through that hip injury that he had. But he sprays the ball foul pole to foul ball on the other side. So like I said, he's got pop to right center field. He can put it up over the Clemente wall, here at home in Pittsburgh at PNC, and he can put it back there on left center too, back in the bullpen. So you love to have a guy that can bring that type of pop into your lineup, especially from the right side, because we did get really left-handed heavy over the course of this offseason with acquisitions. This is a guy that's going to be in the lineup and continue to produce runs for you, and you love to see that.
Yeah, it's so funny to think that we were left-handed power heavy. That switch happened so quickly because last year that was not the case. And for the Pirates to now have a new problem in which they had to go find some right-handed power is a great thing, because where are most of the home runs going to come? In PNC Park? They're going to come in right field. And Marcell Ozuna hits the ball the other way with power just as well as almost anybody. He's got a long swing. But what he does do pretty well is he gets the barrel in the zone early. So he'll do what I call, as a pitcher, is my least favorite thing: the late barrel, right? The late barrel where a guy's hands are forward, the barrel's still back in the zone, but it's in the zone, and so he's able to drive the ball sometimes right down the right field line. I pitched against Marcell Ozuna a good amount, and he could be frustrating at times. Most of the time, I was just throwing him fastballs up and in and saying, "Hey, man, like, go ahead and try to get your hands extended." I'm curious to see if that's still going to be the approach that guys have on him. He's a little bit more of a mature hitter now than when I faced him. He was kind of free swinging last year. I think probably the hip injury had a little bit to do with this, but his career high 94 walks, that's a good sign of somebody learning the zone, somebody who's been known as a free swinger for most of his career. So I think you're still seeing growth for him at 35 years old, 34 years old. And I think that's really good to see. But you bring up that power: 100 home runs over the last 3 years. Our producer, Nick Belsky, shout out. He's down there somewhere. You can't see him though. But last year, the three guys that we have brought in, 117 home runs from just those three guys, and Brandon Lau, Ryan O'Hearn, and Marcell Ozuna. That is a huge, huge difference. Sorry, I got this incorrectly. Last season we had 117 home runs. We were last in Major League Baseball. So this year you're adding 69 homers in just those three guys. I mean, I think it can make a huge difference if you think about think about 117 home runs compared to 100 and, let's say, 80. That puts a way different spin on what the Pirates can be offensively. You get base runners, but you got to get them around. And KY, the best way to do that, obviously, is the home run ball. And the Pirates have committed to getting more home runs.
Yeah, that's no doubt. And you can't escape the fact that, as we mentioned several times, O'Neal Cruz and Bryan Reynolds did not have really good seasons last year, so they're bouncing back. So they're going to be contributing a little bit more when it comes to that long ball as well. And so you throw in names like that, as Spencer Horwitz, and him checking boxes and having good at bats, you have those runners out there. You have guys that are really stubborn when it comes to the strikeout now. You mentioned earlier, Jake, Mangum. He's one of those type of guys. When he's in the lineup, I think the city of Pittsburgh is really going to love this kid, because he gets
Yeah.
after it. It's nothing better than having a guy that's mature in age, because he's getting closer up to that age now. But again, he's one of those guys that had to travel through baseball and do it a different way. And so you get to appreciate and learn all your downfalls and embrace really who you are and how you impact a ball club. So you have really a really good diverse group and a diverse lineup, if you will. You have some guys that can run, they can do some things on the base pass. You have some guys who can put the ball on the other side of the wall. And so that is going to be one of the keys more than anything. Just watching how Donnie Kelly wants to utilize this lineup, and which we'll get into a little later on, because that's really a big deal. I mean, you have a lot of guys that can do some things and find a way to move runners, find a way to open up the ball game when you need it. The long ball doesn't come to us all the times, but if you're able to be, again, to move the barrel left to right, use all fields. And some of these guys now are learning that. The Jared Triolos of the world now are getting that extra year of experience. Nick Gonzalez is starting to be able to understand one more year of experience. How can I impact a major league lineup? And so I think that's why I said I'm super excited for this group to get after it in spring training in Bradenton and see this all come together.
Yeah, it's a different look. I mean, it's going to be an offense that is going to depend on the home run ball a little bit more. That's not something we had said before. We wanted the home run ball, but we knew that the offense was more made around small ball and running and that kind of thing. That's not going to be the case anymore for the Pirates. All the times that we last year were talking about, hey, we want to be right near the top of the league in stolen bases, throw that out the window. That's not going to happen. This team is not built to run. This team is built to hit, which is a different identity that as a complete flip in one offseason. We're not going to see the small ball stuff. We might not see O'Neal Cruz steal as many bases. He might still because he can do it, but we're not going to see that same kind of effort. It's going to be we need to get guys on base so that our power hitters can come up and do some damage. I got one question for you before we get into what this could mean for the lineups for the Pirates this year. I want to talk about a little bit of the lefty righty thing that we're going to have this season. The Pirates are going to have to figure out how to have the same or similar caliber offense against left-handed starters as they are going to hopefully against right-handed starters. Most of these players they've acquired, Brandon Lout, Ryan O'Hearn, for example, and guys like Spencer Horwitz who have already been here, O'Neal Cruz, they are much better against right-handed pitchers, all full-time lefties. So you're going to have to figure out a way to really get that offense on the right side. Do you think we're going to have basically hockey-esque platoon line switches throughout the game? Are we going to have three guys starting the game, and then in the seventh inning when a right-handed reliever comes in, you're just the full lines coming out, and you're bringing in Lau and O'Hearn and Horwitz all at the same time? What do you think we'll see there?
I really hope not. I hope not to see that. I hope you see a little more consistency. We said that's the one thing about the game of baseball that we all thrive and we really want to be able to do is have consistency. And players feel that same way too. And so the one unique thing is you're mentioning about the power that we have now with these acquisitions. You have power, but you don't really have a lot of strikeout totals. These guys put the ball in
True.
play. So that's a big difference to me. And that for that reason, I think you have some more professional at bats that come into play a little bit more. It keeps you from having to feel like, oh, well, we have to be in this platoon situation when you have guys can put together professional at bats. And so I do see certain areas like you look at Jake Mangum, for example. I bring that name up again because he's one of those guys that it's a spark plug. You want to find
Yeah.
ways to get him in that lineup. You really do. And so that might be one of the opportunities you might have. And then, depending on the catching situation, we know Joey Bart has had success against left-handed, pitchers as of, for the last couple of years in particularly. And so that might be one of those changes you might make to give Henry Davis, in my opinion, who's one of the guys that will probably get a good, share of the catching duties early on, just how he's handled the staff. But you never know.
Right.
But I think that's where Donnie Kelly is really, and the staff really have a lot of work to do of trying to figure out what are we going to do, figure out our lineup in that first month of the season, how many left-handed starters are we going to run into to see how legitimate, of an issue that's going to be. And so, but I do feel like the consistency, Stevie, is going to be huge. These guys, they want to get out there and play every single day. You mentioned, this acquisition of Ozuna, he's going to want to be in that DH spot every single day. So what
Yeah.
does that mean for the rest of those guys? Now, all of a sudden, that DH doesn't look the same because these guys are going to be out in the field playing against those left-on-left matchups at times.
Selfishly, I want this to finally be the year. Maybe because Ozuna is coming in, that'll push Donnie to let Bryan Reynolds play every single game this year. I know that's something he's wanted to do, but that's just not the way that this team has operated in the past. Maybe if you bring in a guy who's like, hey, I'm going to play every day. You signed me to play every day. I'm going to play. Maybe Bryan Reynolds will get that same treatment. It'll be interesting to see.
No one destroys a baseball like O'Neal Cruz. That is the hardest hit ball in known Major League history.
Pitchers should consider themselves warned.
And it is gone! There's a cruise missile!
Log in with your cable provider and stream the Pirates all season long on SNP 360.
Well, everybody, thank you for joining us on Bucs Bounty. Of course, watch us anywhere you get your podcast, but you can actually see our faces if you watch us on YouTube at SportsNet Pittsburgh. You can't see Nick Belsky's face, but it's really nice. I really wish you could. He's wearing
really
glasses
nice.
and a headset and everything. Dude, he looks like such an audio guy. It's awesome. All right, let's move on a little bit. Still kind of the same vein of talking about what Ozuna's acquisition, reported acquisition, is going to do for the lineup construction going through this year. We just talked about the difference between lefties and righties. I do see Jake Mangum playing every single time a left-handed starter is pitching. I would be really surprised if he wasn't, because you're going to want to give one of those lefties a break. And Mangum can play anywhere, and he's really good on defense, and he's fast. So just go ahead and just scratch it in there for me that Mangum will play against lefties every time. But I will say this, it kind of throws a bit of a wrench, right? Another big guy who's going to take up the DH spot. I was talking to Michael McHenry about this just yesterday. And, it's interesting. Since the DH has come to the National League, there has been, it feels like, teams catching up to how they actually want to use a DH, right? The American League's been doing this forever. The National League, the Pirates have used the DH spot a lot of times as basically a day off for players, instead of using it as, we got this guy to come in and just be really good at hitting, and so he's going to be the everyday DH, and you have to figure out everything else around him. This is a new aspect for the Pirates, where I think we are going to see Marcell Ozuna in that DH spot every single day. So now everything gets a little bit more interesting, because moving these guys around defensively gets a little bit more difficult, a little bit stricter, because you don't have that DH spot kind of looming as a possibility. So let's get into this a little bit. Let's start with Ryan O'Hearn, one of the new acquisitions for the Pirates. He's only played 16% of his 740 games in the outfield. But if the way it looks right now, KY, it looks like he's going to be your everyday left fielder. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, I think that's what it looks like. And the only other question you would have is would you consider moving Bryan Reynolds back to left field, and using Ryan O'Hearn in right field? If anything else, Bryan Reynolds may say, "Yeah, that's cool. At PNC Park is a shorter run to left field." But
yeah, that's true.
But in all
That's
honesty,
a real long run
I mean,
to that notch, though. I'll tell you that.
well, and that, which we'll get to that later, because I have some take on that too, and it goes back to positioning. You have O'Neal Cruz. You can share. But we'll get into that. Make sure you bring that back up later, because I want to talk to you about that. But yes, absolutely, that is something that it's a possibility. Him playing left field, but like I said, maybe not. I don't know. I think those are the two choices you have: either Bryan Reynolds, either making the switch back over to left field, or O'Hearn in right, and then or vice versa.
I mean, look, O'Hearn has played most of his outfield games in right field. He's played 101 games in right, 22 games in left. So you'd say he's probably more used to it, but at the same time, you're going to be playing in a new stadium. You're going to have to relearn everything that you know about outfield anyway when you go play defense in the outfield at PNC Park, because it's a beautiful stadium with just the most random construction of weird knocks and nooks and crannies out in the outfield that you have to learn, whether you're in right field or you're in left field. So it's not going to be an easy adjustment. So either way, Ryan O'Hearn is going to have some stuff to learn. That was an accidental rhyme. Thank you for putting me up on the screen by myself when I made that sick rhyme.
That was
all right,
impressive.
but yeah, you're right. But what about Bryan Reynolds playing left field? Why is that a problem? Right? Why wouldn't they be able to just throw him back out there?
I understand 100% with you on that, and I agree with you. I'll take it back. Now, you can appreciate this because you remember it was around the same time. Remember, I think it was 2017 when the Pirates wanted to move Andrew McCutchen to right field. And I remember sitting in a meeting and discussing this, and I remember saying, I don't think that's a good idea, specifically because they're looking at it as Starling Marte can cover more ground in center field and be, good on both sides. And yes, he can, because he's a really good center fielder in that aspect. He can cover ground. I was looking at it more along the line. This is a unit. This is an outfield unit. You had Gregory Polanco in right, Andrew McCutchen in center, and Starling Marte in left. So when you upset that rhythm, these guys all came in together and they all impacted and they all looked up to Kutch that entire time. So now all of a sudden ego comes into play a little bit, and rightly so, because Andrew did not want to move, and so it becomes one of those things where you're actually upsetting the apple cart a little bit. And why did you didn't need to do that? You want them all productive. And by the way, moving him means you mean to move Polanco over to left field where he's been accustomed to playing right field. So now you have two players doing two totally different positions. All that to say this: Bryan Reynolds playing in left field. What would the adjustment be? Maybe O'Neal Cruz would shade left center a little bit more, and you just reshape your outfield, not based off of necessarily the analytics of what you say, what can be done, but understanding what the need is in that specific time. And so I think those are the ways you go around managing men, making sure you manage the man that can help the team be productive moving forward. So I personally don't see a big deal with Bryan Reynolds making that switch. It's a position that he's played in the past. He's done it extremely well. He has a great Gold Glove mentality when he goes out to play defense anyway. He's worked really hard in different levels to improve his game all the way around, and he's a professional. And so I just find that notch that we talk about, that notch can be covered by O'Neal Cruz as we take both the center fielder and the right fielder and shade them to certain hitters and based on the pitching matchups and so forth. So you always have an answer for stuff like that, and I don't see an issue at all.
And it's interesting too, because most of the balls that are hitting that notch are going to be hit from right-handers, because it's just for a lefty to hit the ball that far in the left center field gap is very rare. It just doesn't happen very often. And so most of the time anyway, it's going to be a pretty true ball flight. It's not going to be going away from O'Neal Cruz, because you're not going to hook a ball to left center as a righty. You're going to drive it to left center. So most of the time, I think it won't be one of those where it's constantly falling away from you either. If anything, it might actually be falling a little bit towards O'Neal Cruz. So I think that's fine. I also just want to say, you know what? This is what they pay the analytics guys for, right? It's not just, hey, these are the numbers and this is exactly what we need. And no matter what, these are, we're going to pretend these aren't human beings. No, there are human beings. And so the team can go to these guys and say, hey, we want to get the best positioning that we can have with these guys in the outfield, but we want Cruz to be a little bit shifted over to help Bryan Reynolds. And if you start with that as your basis, I think you can still figure out a really good way to still not be, as you were saying, not out of position for what the analytics say where these guys are going to hit the ball, but maybe a little bit of an adjustment so that O'Neal Cruz can just be a little bit closer over to that side. I don't see that being a problem. I am curious how this is all gonna line up when it all is said and done. The main thing is, as long as the guys in the outfield are hitting, it's going to be fine. It's going to be a different team than we're used to seeing. Not the speedsters out in the outfield. It's going to be very important. Tarek Brock's going to have a new job. This is a new job working on guys who aren't the fastest. How do you get them to get to the ball when they need to make a running catch in a gap somewhere, right? It's all about route efficiency now. And if there's anybody who can coach these guys into doing it, obviously we both know it's Tarek Brock.
No doubt. And I think, Stevie, you bring up a good point, but the other part of it too is when it comes to that positioning, you're talking about contact. I mean, we have a really good pitching staff. We have some guys that can fill up the zone and they can do it with some velocity and they have some spin. And so it is not like, these guys pitch to contact. We have a lot of guys in that starting rotation that get swing and miss. And so that also helps when it comes to the defense. When you talk about how they're positioned and things of that nature, you don't have to be perfect, because these guys are facing, not every day you're going to face 99 to 101 from starting pitchers either. So the reality of it is it's a little different. So don't get so, tablet tapping heavy on analytically putting guys where they want to be, opposed to understanding the whole picture and what we're dealing with.
I like that. The tapping here. That really makes me think, like, I'm in the dugout and I'm just like, no, he's supposed to be here, but he's like one step this way. You know what I mean? Dude, it's crazy. All right. So the outfield is going to be an interesting mix no matter what. I also just want to say, after talking to Tony Beasley for a while, bringing him in, have you talked to Tony Beasley yet? Do you know Tony Beasley? Have you met him?
Yes, yes. Actually, yeah, definitely. We go way back, like from
That's what I thought you might.
1991. Yeah, he was with the Frederick Keys playing with the Orioles. Remember Frederick Keys back there? I think
I
when you
played
were
for
in
the Frederick
Baltimore was.
Keys.
Thank you. See, exactly.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's how long I've known Bees, and I got to congratulate him coming over. What a great pickup! I mean,
Yeah.
this is off season has just been amazing. I mean, the players that we've acquired and the type of coaching that we've acquired, um, it's talking about guys that really want to make a difference, and I think that's pretty cool to see. He's going to fit right in this staff, and he's going to make these guys better as well. So, I mean, it's fun to watch those guys. It absolutely is.
Yeah. Well, quick things before we move on. I just have to say, I'm sorry. I was born in 1992, so you've literally known
Here we
Tony
go.
Beasley longer than I've been
Here we
alive.
Here we
So
go.
I had to,
Oh
I
boy.
had to do
Hey,
that.
I'm gonna come across the valley. As soon as this is over, I'm driving across the valley. I'm gonna knock on your door and we're gonna have a discussion.
They still let you drive? Did you have to take another test? Okay, no, I'm done. I'm done. And then I was
Hey,
gonna say,
I
do
get
you
close.
think
I get
that
close parking spots so I can pull in the handicap spot though.
that's true. That's true. I do think that the first base, there's no better first third base coach tandem in baseball now. If you just were to get planted in a room and just say, "Hey, please, the two of you, just tell stories," and I just want to listen for the next however many hours you will talk. I mean, Tony Beasley and Tarek Brock, two of the best guys. So it's like you said, that's part of it too. Not only the skill that these guys are bringing in and the coaching acumen that they've developed throughout their careers, long coaching careers, also the personality aspect of this. They're coming in to say, hey, we're going to have fun. And you know what's way more fun? Winning. Losing is
Yes.
terrible. Winning is fun. So let's keep that
Right.
going around. All right. Quick switch in gears here. Spencer Horwitz. All right.
Yes.
Spencer Horwitz, interesting case study now with the acquisition of Ryan O'Hearn. That takes away, maybe we thought at first, okay, well, Spencer Horwitz could possibly move to second. Maybe he could play, DH. Well, the DH spot is gone. So, what are we going to see from Spencer Horwitz, who had a really good last, about month and a half, 2 months over last season?
Well, and that is the biggest question mark that I have on the roster. It really is because Spencer Horwitz, in my opinion, played a Gold Glove caliber first base defensively last year. He really did. He was amazing,
It was good.
and obviously, what he was able to do once he was able to get going a little bit, coming off of that wrist and the rehabilitation of it. You got to see what he's able to do offensively as well, and so I mean, it's a tough one. That is a tough one because his approach allows him to be able to hit, whether it be coming off the bench and pitch it roles or playing every day against right-handers, whatever the situation may be, he's that guy that can do it. The second base thing, I mean, I just feel like you have too many guys that could do that, on that ball club. That's not a reality for me, for Spencer. But I do look forward to watching him go out and have some really good at bats and really take hold of playing first base as often as possible. Anytime you have a guy like Ryan O'Hearn and Spencer Horwitz on our team, you're talking about two really good defensive first basemen. So that's why I said the Pirates have done a really good job of creating a really healthy environment of competition where these guys are going to be able to continue to push each other and make each other better. And so but Spencer, he's proven the fact that that he fits. Now you just got to make sure that he can continue to be in a place where he can contribute. But I do like his approach more than anything. He is that guy that can come off the bench occasionally too when he's not in the starting lineup and give you a quality at bat. So you love to have guys that are always in that game, and so it's going to be a toss up, man. We got a lot of tough decisions to make throughout the course of this spring.
I think
What's your thoughts
this
on it? Where
is
do you think he's going to end up?
Yeah. So what's interesting about this is often I would say spring training only matters for a very small amount of players, right? There's most of the players, the team knows going into spring training what the situation is going to be for that player, whether it's you're going to be playing every day, you're only going to be playing against righties, whatever it is. This spring training is for me a little bit more interesting because I think Ryan O'Hearn and Spencer Horwitz are both going to play a lot this year. There's no question in my mind of that. However, which of them are going to play against lefties, I think, is an interesting question. And I think spring training could be used as the time where you kind of figure this out. Which one of those guys do you feel more comfortable facing left-handers throughout the season? And look, there's only one way to do it. I know spring training isn't worth everything, but you gotta make this decision somehow. So I'm curious how you would do it. I know it's an interesting concept, but what do you think? How do you make this decision?
Well, one thing that I'm going to say might be, I can't remember, is Spencer, is he playing with Team Israel again in the WBC? Because if
Yeah,
he
he
is,
is.
then
Yeah,
that cuts down some of those at bats you're talking about.
it's a
And
good
that's a
point.
problem, right? The other problem is, and I talked to Spencer during Pirate Fest about that, because I really wish he would have got more at bats against lefties during the last month of the season, because it's just, you want to be able to go into the offseason trying to figure out, all right, is this, what does that look like? So at least you have some kind of answer. And so that's the one thing that's working a little bit to that point. It's like, okay, how do you get those at bats? It's tough to get those reps because you don't face that many lefties in spring training.
Right.
You really don't. You can get a point where you just might not just see any lefties. You got to hope that you can, and if you do, it's like, now who's going to get those at bats? So,
Right.
Ryan O'Hearn obviously has had some good, success against left-handers. So if you had to go who's ahead of the game right now, you would probably say him, because Spencer didn't get those opportunities last year as often as probably he
Right.
would like, and then as I know that he would like to have them for sure. So that's one of those challenges. That's the big challenge. I think the WBC taking some of those at bats away for spring training, for him specifically in that. But what it will do will make me focus more against his left-hander at bats in the WBC.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
we'll be watching closely on that as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, O'Neal Cruz got the same treatment. He's going to be playing for the DR. You hope to see him get some nice at bats against left-handers as well. Obviously, congratulations to all the players: Dennis Santana,
Yes,
O'Neal Cruz, Spencer Horwitz, Paul Skeens, all playing in the WBC this year. So cool, so cool.
yes.
Can't wait to watch Skeens dominate in that USA. It's gonna be a good look. Um, okay, our producer told me he brought this mock draft lineup from Fangraphs that after the reported acquisition of Marcell Ozuna, this is kind of what we're looking at here. And interestingly enough, I actually made my own lineup here, and I'm going to read this as we go through because I want to show you. I'm
Mm,
very similar, but not quite the same. So
okay, let
Spencer
me see it.
Horwitz, I also had leading off. Brandon Lau had hitting second. Reynolds I had hitting third. However, fourth I had Marcell Ozuna, where that was switched. Fifth, I did have O'Neal Cruz, so I just switched O'Hearn and Ozuna, and then I went Triolo instead of Gonzalez and Henry Davis instead of Bart. But very, very similar lineup. What do you think is the realistic lineup going into? Do you think that's about what we're going to see, or are we going to see some change ups here, KY?
Well, I don't know what we're going to see, but I will give you my lineup of versus right-handed
Okay.
pitching only, though. I'll give you the versus
Right,
righties.
right.
So I would say for me, I had, believe it or not, O'Neal Cruz leading off against righties. Brandon Lau be hitting second. Bryan Reynolds hitting third. Marcell Ozuna would be the cleanup spot for me. Ryan O'Hearn would hit fifth. Spencer Horwitz would hit sixth. Nick Gonzalez, Jared Triolo, and Henry Davis would round out the bottom third of the lineup. And I like the thing that I like about having O'Neal Cruz back at the top of the lineup, because I feel like he's about ready to turn that corner. And I think with the acquisition of Marcell Ozuna, that's what really allowed me to say put O'Neal Cruz back at the top of the lineup, because now you have Brandon Lau hitting behind him. And I feel like that is instant offense, and you're giving him an opportunity to touch, possibly get 5 at bats a game. And I like that, him coming off the year that he had, coming with the message this offseason, of wanting to hit that next level. I just like seeing him at the top of that lineup and seeing how that works. And Spencer Horwitz, because because of who he is, because of his approach, I've always felt like the 6 hole was a place where there's a ton load of RBIs on a good lineup. And so whether it be, you had 3, 4, 5, you got Reynolds, Ozuna, and O'Hearn in 3, 4, 5. So you have opportunities with guys to get on base. And you also have guys that may leave the bases empty for you. But I like the home runs in that group too. But I mean, I just felt like if you want to mix it up a little bit and give something, to jump off our season with. April's a very, very important month for the Pittsburgh Pirates with this type of talent offensively that they put together. Yeah, let's punch them in the mouth early and have O'Neal Cruz jump off to, a really fantastic start in that leadoff spot. That would be pretty exciting.
It would be two arguments for O'Neal Cruz in the leadoff spot. You ready for this? Number one, to be fair, a lot of the guys in that middle of the lineup are not runners. And so if O'Neal Cruz, let's say, gets on base and Marcell Ozuna's in front of him, you're not going anywhere, right? There goes the stolen bases. So I like the idea of putting Cruz in front of those guys. Not only does he get some protection, but also he can run. If he gets on first base, let's get him to second base because you're not going to have many steals from the other guys in that lineup. Let O'Neal Cruz go. The second one is the human element. Fear is real, okay? If you're a right-handed pitcher and you come out and it's O'Neal Cruz, Brandon Lau, Bryan Reynolds, Marcell Ozuna, you do not feel good about that first inning. That's the truth. Yeah. We might see lefty swingman opening against the Pirates this year just to try to get rid of that first inning. That's a real possibility. What's interesting is we're both talking about lineups against righties because I think we can both agree that right now I'm not ready to make a commitment on who I think or what I think the lineup is going to look like against left-handed pitchers. I'm just not sure yet. I think we need to see a little bit more as spring training goes on. And so I do really like that. I like O'Neal Cruz in the top of the lineup as well. I think that's might be what we'd see, but a lot of it's going to depend on him. That's the truth. He had a really tough second half last year, and he's really got to turn that around in order to earn those big at bats at the top of the lineup. Okay, let's switch gears, KY. I know you like talking about hitting, but I am a pitcher, and so I require producer Nick Belsky to make at least one pitching segment every single show. Also, because all of these signings that we've seen, well, the biggest strength of the Pirates still is supposed to be this starting rotation. Still should be. Last year, 6th in ERA, 6th in WHIP, 5th in opponent batting average, 4th in home runs against, and 20th in innings pitched. That number is going to change, and I'm going to give you a few reasons here in a little bit. But let's just talk about the starting rotation. Paul Skeens at the top, obviously. Mitch Keller. We see them both as locks. They are locks. There's no question there. Those guys are going to be at the top of the rotation. Now, we can get into a little bit more ifs, ands, and buts. Let's talk about Bubba Chandler to start. Bubba Chandler, I see him as a lock. I think most people probably do as well, but that's not how locks work. In order for him to be an actual lock, everybody has to see him as a lock. But I see him as being there for sure in a kind of a battle with Mitch Keller on who's the 2 and who's the 3. And I think that puts Keller in a great spot because no longer do you have to worry about being the top ace guy. Like you have really, really good starting pitching around you that you can all push each other to be better. Bubba Chandler, let's start there. KY, you got him as your number 3 start the season?
Number 3, yes, I do.
Yes.
100%, without a doubt. I mean, I think that it is one of those things where you have, a Paul Skeens is obviously your guy, and obviously Mitch Keller will be that second pitcher. But then you're changing up that series a little bit too. When you can face guys that are blowing cheese, you got Skeens and Bubba Chandler back to back. As a hitter, it is a little easier for me to make that adjustment that second day. I don't want to have to think. I mean, and so I think I just love the fact that Bubba Chandler being in the middle of that. He gets an opportunity to actually watch. If the series lays out itself, obviously the first one does, but you get to watch it, see from that sideline on that top step, how to attack some of these hitters. And that's where these guys continue to grow and be better and help each other, work through those lineups differently. And so I love the fact he's in a position where he can sit back and actually get some of that tutelage, if you will, for an entire season.
I agree. And, when I said that the innings being 20th in baseball is going to be different this year, Bubba Chandler is one of those reasons for me. Last year, he was used in a sometimes starting, sometimes relieving. That's not going to be the case. He's going to be a starter, and he has now built up enough. He was a
Yes.
position player and pitcher in the minor leagues. He then switched to a pitcher only, and he's slowly been building up innings over the last 3 years. Well, last year, combined between AAA and the big leagues, he threw 131 and a third innings pitched. He's ready for 170. So go get him, kid. As long as he is
Hmm.
effective and he's not throwing a crazy amount of pitches every game, he's going to be staying deep in games. Can't wait to watch him pitch with a little bit of the reins taken off. Skeens and Keller, I feel like it's open season. Both of those guys are going to pitch as long as basically as they are effective and they're not, over that 105 pitch mark. I can see Skeens and Keller both coming out in the eighth or ninth inning this season already at 108 pitches when they've pitched a really good game. This is the year. Right. And the
Yes.
rotation is what is going to be the biggest part of this team's success. So you have to let them do it. You have to let them take the reins and go. And I think we're going to see that. The next guy that we're going to talk about is a good example of that. Braxton Ashcraft, who I believe will
Yes.
be the number 4 in the rotation to start the year. He had a bad arm injury. He missed a season. Last year, 118 innings pitched between AAA and the big leagues. He's ready for about 150. That gives him plenty of room to work, especially if you need to give him a little break in the middle of the season. You can do that to have him ready for the end of the year. But I got Ashcraft as number 4. KY, do you agree?
100% agree on that one as well. Actually, Braxton Ashcraft is one of those guys. I mean, I get excited every time he gets the ball in hand to start. I mean, I really do. I mean, it's just the confidence, the conviction with every pitch, just the attitude, all of it. I mean, it's just very impressive. And I just enjoy the athleticism too. I mean, he is an athlete on that mound. You see that from you think about the pitchers
Oh,
you
yeah.
named already. I mean, these guys are athletes. They get after it different. And so he's one of those guys, like I said, he's just been really fun to watch. The second half of the season, his starts that we're able to see, they were very impressive. So he's definitely in my 4 spot as well.
A little under the radar signing the Pirates made recently, Jose Urquidy
Mm-hmm.
is an
Mm-hmm.
interesting person for me too. I was actually pushing the Pirates to sign Urquidy 2 years ago. But that obviously did not happen. And then he got hurt. And so good for them for not. That would have been totally a waste of a season, unfortunately. But what we've seen from Urquidy in the past is pretty interesting. It's impressive. Over from 19 to 2022, he had 60 starts. He had a 3.74 ERA and 342 innings pitched. That is fantastic over a 3-year period. He used to throw his fastball a ton, over 50% of the time. But after his injury, he had an elbow surgery. He missed all of 24, most of 25. Ended up just having 1 outing or 2 outings in the big leagues last year with the Tigers. They didn't go well, but they weren't starts. They were just, mop up inning type of things. So I don't really count that. What I do count is he went and pitched in the Mexican League this year in the offseason, and he did really, really well. He had an ERA of 1.09 and 33 innings pitched in 5 starts. You'll take that. It's obviously not the highest level of baseball, but it's really good baseball. A lot of ex-major leaguers or current high-level minor leaguers playing in that league that he pitched against and did really well. So he's an interesting character for me for that 5th spot. I don't love that he is coming back from injury again. That's something that you want somebody to go deeper into games. But he's an interesting aspect for me to be in that 5th spot. But I'm going to give you your choices here. You ready, KY? You get
Yes.
Carmen Mlodzinski, who we saw start at the beginning of last year, did not go well for him. Went to the bullpen, was fantastic. Do you wanna try that again? Interesting question. Jose Urquidy, who we just discussed. Thomas Harrington, who we saw in a little flash in the pan. We know he's got good stuff. It didn't play in the big leagues, not yet, but he has the right attitude. He has the growth mentality. He's been working with Bubba Chandler and with Paul Skeens. He wants to learn. He wants to get better. You got to appreciate that. And then we've got Hunter Barco, the only lefty that the Pirates could consider putting in the rotation. We saw him in the big leagues a little bit. He had 102 innings overall between AAA, AA, and the big leagues last year. And he's an interesting guy as a left-hander who's got some really good stuff. Maybe we'll worry about the walks a little bit, but so you got Mlodzinski, Urquidy, Harrington, Barco right now. If there's no additions, which of those four guys would you see as the fifth starter?
I'm going with Urquidy as a fifth starter for a number of reasons. One, the experience alone, and I think that the one thing he does extremely well is he spins the ball really well. He's got a good breaking ball, and more importantly, he has a really good changeup. That one of the outings that he did have was against the Cleveland Guardians last year, which is an offensive team. Obviously, they can swing the bat a little bit. And I watched him. His matchup against Jose Ramirez, and it was just that changeup is filthy. I mean, it is very impressive. And so when you have a guy like that has some experience in him, we shared earlier how important it is to get off to a good start for this ball club. From where they're at right now, you like to have that type of experience. And I would piggyback him with Hunter Barco, because now you have a lefty that would be following in right after that, depending on how the innings work with him. But I would really look for Urquidy to be that guy to really take control of that fifth starting role. It gives you some experience within that rotation. It gives you a little more familiarity with, again, having someone that can learn on the job, put forth that best foot, work with the staff. He's coming from that background of familiarity in Houston. Obviously, that may play a big part of why he's acquired anyway. So all those little things like that, I think, come into play. There's something there that I think that you give Hunter Barco an opportunity to maybe fill in and pick up off the backside of that. And now you're flipping the bats around a little bit too. So there might be some changes that might take place, but I like that matchup. And as much as I love Carmen Mlodzinski, I just, the way he's dominated coming out of the pen, I mean, it's just, it's been so good. And I know it's tough because every pitcher that's in the pen, they definitely want to be in the starting rotation. And it does hurt me for that reason. But I mean, it's just so good. It is so good coming out of the pen. And it's just, this might not just be the time or the opportunity, but as we say, it's pitching, right? I mean, opportunities present themselves all throughout the course of a season. And so all you have to do is be ready to get outs. And then when your name's called and you grab the opportunity, then take it and never relinquish it again. But for me, I think Urquidy would be my first choice for the fifth starter. And I do like the fact of having Hunter Barco get his feet wet a little bit on the back end of that. Could breathe some opponent hitters to a little different tune, if you will.
Yeah, it's talk about a ringing endorsement when the Pirates bring in the pitching coach from the Astros. They bring in, and then he brings in the AAA pitching coach from the Astros, and then you find a free agent for $1.5 million who's had a lot of success in his short time in the big leagues, but has been hurt. And so maybe those guys definitely had a big part of saying, hey, we should go get Urquidy. Why not? Like, he was good for them and they know him. I think that is a ringing endorsement that they want him again. Right?
Yes, you nailed it right there. That's exactly what I was going to say, because it's something to be said, and athletes, no matter what sport it is, particularly, with baseball, because we know it well, confidence means a lot. To know that you're wanted means a lot. So to come into an environment where people believe in you, it just allows you to put that best foot forward. And for Urquidy, he'd probably have to admit he couldn't be in a better situation, coming into a new organization where you have some familiarity like that. And so you'll get the best version of yourself. And that's what I like about this staff in general. I feel like they manage the man first and the player second. And so if you can absolutely do that throughout the course of a season, that's how you build a culture. That's how you continue to grow throughout the course of a season. And I think the guys have done a tremendous job of really putting some stuff together this offseason for that reason.
I agree. All right. Well, one last thing before we let you go here on Bucs Bounty. Thank you for joining us. Of course, as always, we always have so much fun. It's just so much fun talking about the Pirates. Really quickly, KY, I just want to know from your perspective, if I give you a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most important thing in the season and 1 being the least important thing, how important is a good start in the month of, March, April? By the time we get to end of April, how important is that start on a scale of 1 to 10?
1 being the top, the number one
No,
priority.
one is never the top. What are you what have you ever done a scale before?
Hey, that's the funny thing about scales. Like when I'm thinking about 1, I'm thinking about 1. 10 is the priority. 10 is a priority when it comes to getting off to a good start for this particular ball club because of the situation. We coming off the last several years, you've never had an opportunity where you came out of spring training so hopeful, or went into spring training so hopeful, and then that's what this been created. It's been created where as soon as the Ozuna deal, if it absolutely takes place, obviously we're anticipating it. When it does take place, now all of a sudden for me, now you can say, all right, we got a shot at NL Central. You haven't been able to say that for the last 5 years. You really haven't, And so with the pitching that you have, the ability to put the ball on the other side of the wall, some really good players that are coming off of some tough years that are going to have bounce back years, I'm sure. You literally did put yourself in the mix now of winning the NL Central for the first time in team history. So I'll repeat that. The first time ever in team history winning the NL Central. So I'm throwing it out there because I think that's my biggest thing more than anything is make sure you put it out there and then make sure it's one pitch at a time. That's the goal. And I think this team is getting off to a good start. It will be so important because of the lineup and because of the scheduling. We play some pretty decent teams at first month of the season as well.
We do.
So it's going to be pretty important for this ball club to get off to a good start.
Yeah, playing good test for the Pirates in April. 12 games against playoff from last year, 18 with a 500 or better record last year, 13 against the NL Central. You play every team once. That's kind of fun, right? You get to immediately feel out how everybody's doing. But I will say this, okay? I got a pro and con really quickly for you. Pro. The truth is, Clint Hurdle always said, you can't win a championship in April, but you can definitely lose one, right? That is the way, how important the good start is. You can't win in April, but if you go, let's say, for example, 12-20, like the team did last year, you put yourself in a really, really tough spot. But it goes the other way too, where in 2023, this team was 20-9 through April. And then by the end of May, they were 28-27. Right. So you have to be able to find what it really means to have a good start. And I think this is my full circle moment. You ready for this? I've been working on this. We're taking from the beginning of the show and we're bringing to the end of the show. We were talking about in the beginning of the show, consistency, correct? I want to see this team playing at a consistent level to start the season, right? I don't want to see a 7-game win streak and then a 7-game losing streak. You want to see good, solid, consistent, repeatable baseball. And that's how we know that this team is for real and can continue it throughout the season. KY, one more time. 1 being the least important, okay? So that's how we're going to do this scale. And 10 being the most important. Consistency throughout a season. You're going to lose players, okay? How important is it to know that this team can fill in the gaps if one of these guys goes down? And how are they going to do it?
Well, I mean, it is extremely important. I mean, that's something that that's why you acquire the type of individuals you have acquired this offseason. I mean, when you're filling in, if you have something that happens at first base, you have a fill-in. And not only you have a fill-in, you have a guy that can do some things where you don't skip a beat. Same thing for the outfield, situations. Having a guy, there's a name keeps coming up over and over again, Jake Mangum. Having a guy like that, if somebody goes down, now all of a sudden, what did you input with? A guy that can run, add energy, put the ball in play, is a tough out, is a gritty defender. Okay. Oh, well, that might carry you through 7-8 games or whatever the stint may be. And so these are the things that's what I said, why I get excited about this club, the way it's been built out thus far, is because you have a little depth. You have ways that you can change the scoreboard really quickly. You have pitching that can shut down opposing offenses. So now all of a sudden that magic 4 number of runs scored that you needed to feel like you had a chance, now you're talking about 5 runs a game possibly with the type of lineup that Donnie Kelly will have at his disposal. And so I think all those things get you really excited. But the depth alone, I think, is obviously something that that you look forward to seeing. So, I mean, again, the importance, very important. I'll put that at a 10 too, Steve.
Put that in the 10. We'll put that as a 10. All right. Well, that's going to do it for us here on Bucs Bounty. We so appreciate you guys joining us. Our producer, Nick Belsky, Kevin Young, Stephen Brault, along with you as we talk about Pirates baseball. We'll be back next week. And my one last thing before we go. You just said what you're excited about. I'm going to tell fans, this is what you should be excited about, okay? This team is good. It's a well-rounded team. They have a good offense. They're going to hit some home runs. They're going to have a good, maybe a great starting rotation. The bullpen is already good with some possible greatness coming in as well in the form of young arms that are unproven, but they have all the stuff in the world. This is a team to be excited about. That's, for me, when it comes down to it, it's less about being excited about one specific thing and more that you can be excited about the team, the roundness of this team. I'm very excited to watch it. I hope you all are too. Thank you so much for joining us here on Bucs Bounty, and we will see you next week.